seduction, confidence, power. These three aren't separate tricks you pick up one at a time, they're a linked system. Touch one lever and the other two move. Master all three and you stop chasing influence. You start bending rooms without raising your voice. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this long before social media turned attention into currency. He didn't just write about princes and war. He studied the psychology of attraction and control across friendships, business, politics, and yes, romance. Here's the first shift. Seduction isn't about being the most attractive person in the room. It's about being the most compelling. Desire isn't born from endless pleasure. It's born from uncertainty. People crave what feels slightly out of reach. So you don't flood the market with yourself. You create tension, mystery, scarcity, quiet gaps that invite curiosity. Don't always be available. Don't always answer. Let your presence feel earned, not automatic. Speak less than expected. Make eye contact, then break it first. Smile when you choose, not because the silence makes you nervous. When your attention becomes a reward, people lean in. That same logic is the heartbeat of real confidence. You were told confidence comes from achievement, approval, applause. That's backward. Confidence is performed first and internalized second. Think of it like a suit of armor you put on before you go into the field, not a trophy you receive after the victory. People believe what you present consistently, so you move as if your value is non-negotiable. You slow your gestures, you take up space. You wait before you speak. You never over-explain, because over-explaining is insecurity dressed up as honesty. The calmest person in the room is usually the most dangerous. Not because they're cold, but because they're in control. Power, then, is the byproduct of emotional command, yours first, then everyone else's. It isn't about domination, it's about directing the emotional climate. When you can make people feel respected, they follow. When you can make them feel seen, they protect you. When you can make them feel slightly off balance, they defer to you. So guard your signals. Never display jealousy. It reads as scarcity. Never display desperation. It reads as dependence. Never rush to outrage. It reads as lost control. And never hand out admiration too cheaply. It tells the room you rank yourself below others. Machiavelli's metaphor for this is simple. Be the spider, not the fly. The fly talks first, reveals too much, and begs to be liked. The spider watches, asks calibrated questions, offers very little, mirrors just enough to build comfort, then steps back to let the other person move toward the web on their own. This isn't cruelty, it's strategy. You don't shove people, you set frames, compliments that double as challenges, questions that make motives surface, pauses that invite confessions. You let others believe they're leading until they walk exactly where you wanted. Underneath all of this is a brutal but liberating truth. Perception often precedes reality. If you appear rare, you become desired. If you appear unbothered, you're admired. If you appear above the scramble, people look up. And here's the twist at first. You might be acting. That's fine. Behavior rewires belief. The mask fuses to the face. Your posture teaches your nervous system a new baseline. So let's get tactical. Own the space you're in. Don't shrink your frame. Straighten it. Place your feet. Relax your shoulders. Let your breath slow your timing. Fast movements scream anxiety. Slow movements whisper control. Speak last in group settings. Let the rush burn off. Silence makes people explain themselves and reveal more than they planned. Handle objects slowly, your glass, your collar, your notes, as if nothing can hurry you. Tempo is a language. Refuse to justify yourself. If a boundary or decision is right, Explanation is optional. Over-justification invites negotiation. Use strategic scarcity. Be present, then withdraw. Let absence work for you. Scarcity builds mystique. Mystique builds leverage. People are always testing. A joke with an edge. A harmless dig. A subtle interruption. Treat these not as insults, but as information. They're probing your frame. Your response sets the price of access. Go colder, not louder. Ask, "Did you mean it that way?" And hold the pause. The goal isn't humiliation. It's doubt. Doubt is more educational than any speech. When they have to wonder what you'll do, you've already shifted the power. Remember, this isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about removing the behaviors that taught people to underestimate you. You trained them. Now you retrain them. Speak less. Watch more. Let your warmth be something earned. Let your silence carry weight. In a world addicted to performance, stillness reads as strength, provided it's chosen, not frozen. You've just met the outer layer of the blueprint. Tension over transparency. Performance over permission, emotional control over emotional display. In the next part, we'll step inside, where your internal script gets rewritten, where silence becomes a weapon, and where the frame of every conversation quietly tilts in your favor. Most people think confidence is something you feel before you show it. Machiavelli knew it's the opposite. Confidence is not born inside, it's staged outside. You act powerful first, and your mind catches up. Watch any room. The person who moves slowest, speaks last, and reacts least always draws the most attention. They look like they know something no one else does. Here's the trick. People don't respond to your reality. They respond to your presentation. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few ever experience what you truly are. So you perform calm while your nerves shake. You hold your posture when your heart races. You let silence fill the air until others start fidgeting. Eventually, the act becomes second nature. You're not faking it. You're training your nervous system for composure. To perform power before you feel it. Own your space. Plant your feet, slow your breathing, keep your shoulders open. Shrinking tells the world you're afraid to exist. Move deliberately. Rushed gestures show anxiety. Controlled, steady movement communicates self-trust. Speak last. In a meeting, a debate, or a date, wait. Let others reveal themselves first. Silence makes them uneasy. Your calm makes them curious. Touch with intention. When you adjust your jacket or reach for your glass, do it slowly. Movement that looks deliberate looks dominant. Never justify too much. Over-explaining is the body language of insecurity. If it's true, it doesn't need a speech. Powerful people rarely say, "Let me explain." They let time and results do it. Confidence isn't loud. It's quiet certainty. A tiger doesn't announce itself. It moves, and everything clears out of its path. Even when you're uncertain, remember, your behavior is your broadcast. The world doesn't read your thoughts. It reads your signals. Repeat the behavior of power long enough, and those signals become who you are. Machiavelli warned, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." But he didn't mean fear through cruelty. He meant fear through respect, fear through presence. Power comes from controlling how others feel around you. Make people feel like your approval is a privilege, not a guarantee. To do that, you must first master your own emotions. Every outburst, every flinch, every attempt to prove yourself bleeds power. Never show jealousy, it screams weakness. Never show desperation, it exposes dependence. Never show outrage, it confirms they got to you. And never offer admiration too quickly, it tells them they outrank you. When someone provokes you, go still. When someone praises you, stay neutral. When someone disrespects you, look at them like they've embarrassed themselves. Your reactions sculpt your aura. The calmer you remain while others lose balance, the more magnetic you become. Think of the people who command rooms. They don't win arguments. They make arguments irrelevant. They don't chase validation, they create it. Most of the world plays defense. A Machiavellian plays design. Be the spider, not the fly. The fly fills the air with noise, explaining, bragging, oversharing, hoping to be liked. The spider waits, observes, smiles faintly, gives little, builds webs instead of making noise. A web of silence, timing, curiosity, and subtle influence. You can build those webs through small psychological maneuvers, double-edged compliments. You handle pressure better than most people. It flatters while challenging. Probing questions. Why do you think that matters so much to you? People reveal their motives if you stay quiet long enough. Mirroring. Subtly reflect posture or tone to build unconscious trust. Withdrawal. When they lean in too much, pull back. People chase what retreats. Control isn't about forcing. It's about guiding desire. Let others think they're leading while you quietly manage the path. This is the foundation of psychological seduction. Not manipulation for cruelty, but design through awareness. You make people feel drawn to you, even when you barely move. You replace noise with meaning, reaction with restraint, desperation with direction. And then something fascinating happens. The game flips. The person who once sought approval starts giving it out like currency. They start pacing rooms differently. They start making eye contact longer and speaking slower. People listen. They lean forward. They follow. This is how performance turns into presence. You don't wait to feel worthy. You decide to appear as if you are. That decision starts the rewiring. Your voice lowers. Your movements tighten. Your attention sharpens. And those watching you feel it. Power spreads like scent. It's invisible, but unmistakable. So remember this. Perception is leverage. If you appear rare, people desire you. If you appear calm, people trust you. If you appear higher in value, people align with you even before you've proven anything. That's not luck. That's design. And when you master design, power becomes predictable. In the next part, we'll go deeper into emotional control under fire. You'll see how Machiavelli turned silence, rejection, and restraint into psychological dominance. How he built fortresses not of stone, but of self-mastery. Because when you control your emotions, you stop reacting and start ruling. Anyone can look confident when life is smooth, but when you're ignored, insulted, or challenged, that's when your real power is tested. Machiavelli believed the strongest person isn't the one who wins arguments. It's the one who chooses when to respond. The truly dangerous man absorbs chaos and releases calm. Most people lose power because they react too quickly. They defend, they explain, they try to prove. They raise their voice, rush to correct, or show visible irritation. But a Machiavellian doesn't play that game. He knows that stillness is a weapon. Silence is a mirror that makes others see their own instability. When someone attacks you, don't rush to defend. Let the insult hang. Smile faintly, like you're not sure whether to take it seriously. When someone tries to impress you, stay neutral. Don't reward too quickly. When something rattles you, wait. Let time dilute your reaction. This is how emotional control turns into psychological dominance. Over time, people start to feel your composure before they see it. They'll hesitate before testing you. They'll crave your approval because your stillness feels like judgment. They'll fear your silence because silence from the strong feels heavier than words from the weak. Confidence built this way doesn't crack, it hardens. It's not the loud, performative kind that depends on applause. It's the unshakable, quiet kind that can stand in fire and not flinch. Now let's shift from emotional control to the deeper art that Machiavelli understood. Seduction beyond desire. Seduction, in his world, wasn't just about attraction. It was about alignment. To seduce is to make others want to move toward your will. It's not about beauty or charm. It's about psychology. You become the answer to what others crave: status, love, validation, rebellion, purpose. Think of Cleopatra, Caesar, Casanova. They weren't always the most beautiful, but they made others feel something rare: seen, challenged, desired, awakened. People don't fall for perfection. They fall for the emotions you make them feel. So instead of selling yourself, sell a feeling. Be the calm that relieves anxiety. Be the danger that wakes up the bored. Be the validation that soothes the insecure. Be the challenge that excites the confident. That's how seduction turns into influence. Learn to speak to what people crave, not what they say. Mirror their emotional tone, then elevate it slightly. Say just enough to spark curiosity, then pull back. Ambiguity is addictive because it keeps the mind chasing closure. The most seductive line isn't, "Here's who I am." It's, "Maybe you'll find out." And the greatest magnet of all, making someone feel understood. When they feel seen by you in a way no one else manages, they attach. They mistake emotional reflection for connection, and once that attachment forms, you hold gravity. Now, combine that gravity with Machiavellian restraint. Power built in silence is harder to attack. Machiavelli taught that a ruler should appear harmless while planning ruthlessly in private. In modern life, that translates to keep your goals to yourself. Keep your emotions under control. Keep your moves unpredictable. Withhold. Not to deceive, but to protect your advantage. When people can't read you, they can't prepare for you. Say little. Observe everything. Because the moment people can predict your next step, you lose leverage. He wrote, "He who builds on the people builds on mud." Meaning, don't rely on approval or loyalty that shifts with the wind. Build on secrecy and self-reliance instead. So trust slowly, show less. Let curiosity work for you. When your true strength finally surfaces, it should strike like lightning, sudden, undeniable, impossible to counter. That's the energy of real power. The strike that no one saw coming because they mistook your calm for weakness. There's another layer here, the darkest form of psychological control. Machiavelli knew that most people don't know who they are. They borrow identity from the strongest presence around them. If you can become that presence, you become their mirror. When you give people a role protector, rebel, genius, lover, and reward them only when they play it well, they start performing for your approval. Withdraw that approval and they panic, because their identity depends on you. You don't chain them, they chain themselves. This is the invisible form of domination, owning the emotional frame others live in, not because you demand it, but because they need it. Machiavelli never said to become a tyrant. He said to understand human nature. And human nature is simple. People crave certainty. If you can embody that certainty, they will orbit you. At this stage, your power is no longer loud or reactive. It's gravitational. You stop forcing outcomes. They start unfolding around you. You've learned how to project confidence, how to seduce minds, and how to turn silence into command. Now, in the next part, we'll step into the inner sanctum of power, the mindset itself. You'll learn how to weaponize rejection, rewrite your self-talk, and control every frame of interaction. Because before you can dominate a room, you must first dominate your own mind. Most people spend their entire lives chasing approval. They want to be liked, validated, invited, seen. But Machiavelli understood something devastatingly true. The moment you chase approval, you hand away control. Approval is leverage, and the one who can reject holds the power. To be Machiavellian is to flip the dynamic, to become the prize, not the seeker. You create a world where others fear your absence more than they enjoy your presence. That is real social dominance. Here's how you do it. When someone shows too much eagerness, pull back. When they fail to meet your standards, withdraw quietly. When invited somewhere, delay your answer. Let your hesitation remind them that your time is valuable. When someone insults you subtly, don't defend yourself. Smile amused, unbothered. It tells them they failed to land a blow. Every rejection builds your rarity, and rarity builds power. The ultimate form of seduction isn't chasing, it's choosing. When you choose selectively, people start qualifying themselves to you. They crave your attention. They edit their words. They measure their tone. Suddenly, they're playing your game without realizing it. Rejection, used strategically, turns attraction into dependency. It flips the script. You become the one whose yes feels like a gift. But this outer power means nothing without internal mastery. Machiavelli knew psychological warfare begins inside the mind. Everything you project, your tone, your posture, your energy, starts with the dialogue running in your head. If that internal voice is insecure, defensive, bitter, or needy, you'll leak it no matter how polished your exterior looks. You can mimic confidence, but under pressure, the mask will crack. That's why a Machiavellian mind doesn't comfort itself, it sharpens itself. It doesn't whisper, "You're enough." It says, "Become more." Reprogram your inner dialogue with precision. Replace, "I hope they like me," with, "Let's see if they qualify." Replace, "I'm nervous," with, "This is how power sharpens itself." Replace, "What if they reject me?" with, "Good, they showed their value." Replace, "Why did they do that to me?" with, "I allowed it, never again." This is how you stop negotiating with your weakness and start commanding your evolution. Machiavelli would remind you, respect is never owed, it's earned through undeniable presence. The voice in your head should sound less like a therapist and more like a general, firm, uncompromising, focused on victory, not comfort. You are your own army. Every thought is either a soldier for you or against you. And when your inner army stands tall, you can move to the next frontier of control, the frame. In every conversation, there's an invisible battlefield called the frame. The unspoken lens through which everything is interpreted. The person who defines that lens defines the reality. Most people argue facts. Machiavellians argue context. Example, someone calls you arrogant. The weak defend, the strong redefine. You say, "Confidence looks like arrogance to the insecure." Instantly, the frame flips. You're not the problem. They are. If someone talks over you, don't yell back. Pause. Let the silence grow uncomfortable, then say calmly, "Are you done?" The stillness reclaims dominance. If someone gossips to you, don't play along. Ask, Why are you so comfortable telling me this? Now the suspicion shifts to them. They feel exposed while you remain untouched. That's frame control, subtle, surgical, devastating. You don't outshout, you redefine. You turn every attack into self-exposure. Machiavelli knew. The one who writes the script rules the stage. Most people accept whatever narrative they're handed. You, however, design it. You set the lens. You dictate what normal means. Never argue inside someone else's frame. Break it or replace it. If someone frames you as guilty, frame yourself as selective. If they frame you as cold, frame yourself as focused. If they frame you as intimidating, frame yourself as disciplined. Every frame you define builds a psychological fortress around you, and that leads to the next level. Fortress energy, the calm, unreadable power that unnerves people without you saying a word. A true Machiavellian radiates dangerous calm. He listens more than he speaks. He reveals nothing. His silence feels like judgment. His composure feels like threat. This kind of energy isn't loud. It's heavy. It bends the atmosphere around it. When you speak, people pause. When you're silent, they overthink. To cultivate fortress energy, live by these laws. Be comfortable with solitude. If you need others to feel complete, you're not powerful, you're dependent. Stop oversharing. Every confession is a blueprint of your weaknesses. Keep your wounds private and your progress unseen. Train in silence. Read, plan, write, and improve away from eyes. Let people assume you're idle. Let your results announce you. Control micro-reactions. When you hear something shocking, don't flinch. When you're criticized, don't frown. A fortress doesn't twitch, it observes. Strike only once. When you act, do it decisively. Precision is more terrifying than aggression. When you embody this energy, people start to second-guess themselves around you. They speak more carefully. They treat you with instinctive respect. They can't quite explain it, but they feel your weight. You've now learned how to build a mind that commands respect before it speaks. You reject strategically, think militarily, and define the frame instead of living inside it. In the final part, you'll see how all of this culminates. The transformation from a person who plays power to someone who embodies it. You'll learn how to turn presence into legend, how to make your silence unforgettable, and how to leave behind not just influence, but myth. Everything before this seduction, confidence, control, was preparation for one goal: transformation. Machiavelli's final lesson was never just about holding power, but becoming it. Not for a moment, but forever. Real power is psychological immortality. It's when people still feel your presence long after you've left. You stop being a person in their mind. You become a reference point, a standard, an idea. To reach that level, stop trying to be remembered through noise. Be remembered through mystery. When you enter a room, bring silence, not energy. Stillness pulls attention in a way excitement never can. When you leave, leave early. Never overstay, never over-explain. Familiarity erodes mystique. Rarity multiplies it. Your absence must speak louder than your presence. When you disappear, do it without warning. Don't announce, don't justify. Let the silence hang heavy. People will replay every word, wondering what they did wrong. That wondering is control. It keeps you alive in their thoughts. This is how Machiavellians become unforgettable, not by forcing presence, but by designing absence. Once you master this, stop managing your image directly. Let others tell your story. Rumors, half-truths, and mystery build a stronger legend than facts ever could. Never clarify everything. Never correct every assumption. When someone praises you, don't confirm it. When someone accuses you, smile. Both reactions build intrigue. Myths survive because they're incomplete. When people have to fill in the blanks, they always make you larger than life. Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must learn how not to be good, and use that knowledge when necessary." He wasn't teaching cruelty, he was teaching adaptability. Be warm or cold as strategy demands. Be kind without becoming predictable. Be distant without becoming cruel. The unreadable are always respected. Eventually, your discipline becomes instinct. The mask you've worn fuses into your face. What began as tactics, control, silence, restraint, becomes who you are. You no longer pretend to be confident, you simply are. You no longer try to be seductive. You move like someone who knows they're wanted. You don't chase power. It radiates quietly from you. At this level, you no longer need validation. People lower their tone around you. They measure their words. They feel your gravity without understanding it. You've shifted from influence to command. That's the final transformation. You stop being seen as a person with traits and start being seen as a symbol of them. You don't represent power, you embody it. You don't act mysterious, you are the mystery. You don't demand respect. Your silence demands it for you. To protect that energy, live by precision. Every movement, every word, every pause should serve your myth. Reveal only what amplifies your legend. Speak less than you could. Smile less than you might. The goal isn't to be cold, it's to be deliberate. When people can't predict you, they can't control you. And remember, true power doesn't come from constant motion, it comes from stillness. The calm person in chaos becomes the center of gravity. When others argue, you observe. When they rush, you wait. When they provoke, you smile. That's the kind of strength people never forget. Machiavelli understood that those who chase admiration lose control of it, but those who withdraw from it attract it naturally. The world bends toward what it cannot fully grasp. So stop explaining yourself. Stop proving your worth. Let curiosity build your legend for you. When you speak, speak with intention. When you act, act once, but make it final. Real Machiavellian mastery is not domination by force, it's domination by design. It's the quiet control of perception through mystery, timing, and restraint. In the end, you don't just influence people, you haunt them. You live rent-free in their minds because your presence was rare, your silence powerful, and your exits unforgettable. That is the true legacy of power. Not applause, not recognition, but quiet permanence. When others fade, you remain, not as a memory, but as a myth.